What is up, my brothers from another mother? This is going to be an important video that is going to clarify 4 things a lot of you guys don't have a ton of clarity on between the differences with men and women. This should help some of you guys level up. Some of you women that watch my videos as a fly on the wall, this will help you understand a few concepts that might have eluded you before. Before I get started into these 4 things, because some of them are going to be a little shocking, maybe surprising for some of you. These are not here to reaffirm some negative quitter belief like, see Rich, this is why you just should avoid women in relationships completely. There's always those guys out there. I want to emphasize that the point of these 4 tips that I'm going to give you, these 4 lessons that you're going to learn in this video, is so that you can learn them, accept them, and move forward understanding what they are. All right, point number 1. One of the biggest differences between men and women, and I think both sexes tend to have some difficulty accepting this, is that when it comes to women, we're more concerned with their past. Whereas with men, women are more concerned with our futures. They're not particularly concerned if you've got a notch count of 150. It's not that significant to them. In fact, in some cases, it's almost desirable for women to know that men have had some experience and they understand the dynamics between men and women. On the other hand, though, they're more concerned with men's futures. What is your ability to provision and provide in the future? Can you make it rain? Do you know how to make bank? Are you a competent guy that can get stuff done? Or are you the type that, when difficulties enter your life, you quit, you sulk, you complain, and you whine about it? Women want to know that they're with a strong guy that, again, can make it rain, that can get things done, that can solve problems, that has competency skills. It's been that way throughout history, and it's always going to be that way. That's never going to change. It doesn't matter how much of the feminist indoctrination narrative that we all take in society that tries to level the playing field and make it a blank slate equal sort of egalitarian layout where men and women are identical. We're not. We're quite different. And men, on the other hand, are concerned about a woman's past. And as you should be. Most of you guys out there want to get into some kind of long-term relationship with a woman or want to have more positive interactions with women. And some of you guys still make an incredibly bad choice allowing or inviting problem women with problem pasts into your life. She's been around the block. Guess what, guys? She belongs to the streets. She's going to have difficulty committing to you on a long-term basis. There's been plenty of studies done around this, and men with a lot of experience versus women with a lot of intimate experience out there are 2 different stories. You've got to be aware of that. Again, so to distill that concept, point number 1 is women are more concerned about men's future. Men should be more concerned about her past if they're evaluating her for a future, if they're thinking about inviting that woman into their life on a more intimate basis. All right, point number 2, and this is going to be a tough one for some of the ladies to swallow, and I think some of you guys might already understand this concept, but some of you really don't understand the significance of number 2. And it's that women have a overly entitled sense of self-worth today that is nowhere near aligned with their true sexual marketplace value. I'll give you a very good example of this. From time to time, I have consults booked with women. Sometimes they send me requests to do videos on something that they're stuck on. And I had this one the other day where she was late 30s. She made quite good money. She made about $30,000+ a month at the job that she was doing. She had done well for herself. She figured out, she had cracked the code on the company of one, working for herself, broadcasting information and making some money at it. And again, she'd done quite well. But here's the catch. At her late 30s, almost at 40 in fact, she had 2 children, one of which she had earlier this year. So she's basically got a baby, and the other one looks somewhere around the age of, let's just say under the age of 4. And her ask to me was, I want to find a guy and I need your help. I'm single. I'm a single mom. Here's my story. I make a lot of money, but I want an alpha male that makes more money than me and is smarter than me. Now, this is not something that's particularly new. You'd think that this is the first time this had popped up, or I've never heard this before, but this is in fact quite common. She had no accurate idea of what her value was on the sexual marketplace. She was a pretty woman in her younger years, right? I know all these things because she linked her social feed for me to take a look at who she was. She was a pretty woman in her younger years, but after 2 kids, a marriage, who knows what else led up to it, her looks have deteriorated significantly. But she was at the point where she felt entitled, with a baby in tow and a small child, divorced. Her husband left her, by the way, because he got involved with another woman. But she felt entitled for a higher value guy than the one that had left her for another woman, with kids in tow, and expecting him to make more money than her and also be an alpha male. And I'll be honest with you, there is no man out there around her age bracket, because it's really around that age bracket that she's really going to have any opportunities, that would be, you know, willing to take on the burden of another man's children, take on the burden of dealing with all the drama that's tied around that, for a woman that is nowhere near the peak of her sexual marketplace value. Women peak around 22, 23. After that, they're on the decline. Men, on the other hand, have the opportunity to peak much, much later on in their life. And when they do, it's actually good for men, because men can peak later in their life, let's say in their late 30s or so, maybe even closer to 40, depending on how well it is that they take care of themselves. But there's a big discrepancy, and women's self-belief, you know, their entitlement of their sexual marketplace value is much, much higher. And it's simply because they've had so much free attention their entire life, mostly by thirsty betas and men that just kind of throw it at them continuously. They get it off social media. You know, this woman, again, you know, she rode off a company of one business model, working for herself, making $30,000+ a month, obviously had a good following, obviously had the attention and adoration of a lot of people. I would imagine her audience seemed to be primarily female because of the stuff that she was promoting and selling. But there's no guy in his right mind that would choose that, an alpha male, let's say, that makes over $31,000 a month, because that's one of her demands. We know that women are hypergamous, so they always want better than what they are. Women only date and marry up on the socioeconomic scale. For the most part, on a short-term basis, if it's alpha C, they just want to have a one-night stand, a fling. There's nothing that's going to stop them from spending the night with some guy that was just in jail if he's alpha enough. But on a long-term basis, again, hypergamy says they only date and marry up. So you have to understand, as a guy on the sexual marketplace today, women have an overly entitled sense of self-worth, and have this belief that they're worth significantly more than what their true marketplace value is. Women struggle with that. They have a very, very hard time accepting that. At some point, they may smack into a wall and realize, oh wow, that was an eye-opener. There's usually some moment where they realize, I need to lower my expectations. I need to have a more realistic standard of my worth out there, because it doesn't matter how much money women make, they don't share it with men. Men are dumb. We share our pot of gold with women. Women don't share their pot of gold with men. On a long-term basis, they have the expectation, again, you know, as I described with this woman's request, that they connect with somebody that is better off, and of course, you know, ticks off all these boxes, is so alpha. Many of the expectations that, you know, women seem to have, it's like, must be funny, must be sweet, must be loving, must be kind, must accept, you know, my children as their own, must be alpha, must be competent, must know how to change a tire, must know how to do, and it's like they have this checklist of 250 items that they expect you to meet for you to have the privilege of dating a late 30s woman with children in tow, one baby, and the dude that she was with left her. I told her straight up, you need to, one, either lower your expectations on what you're looking for, or two, take the father of your kids back, because one, it's better for your kids, and two, you're not going to do much better. I saw the pictures of the guy in the feed. But that's the cold, hard truth. Like, that's the cold, harsh reality that women struggle to accept. Men need to understand it. Women are unlikely to want to accept it at some point. But again, this is number two, guys. This is a reality. All right, let's hop into number three. And with this one, it's quite simply, there's no good girls. The only difference between good girls and bad girls is the bad girls have been caught. The good girls haven't been caught yet, or they haven't been revealed yet, if you will. All women have somewhat of a peppered past. Some it's worse than others. Somebody sent me this link. They tagged me in this link on Instagram the other day, and it was an interview with, the only way to describe it is quite possibly the most thoughty looking chick you've ever seen, with her girlfriend in an interview talking about the 7 guys that she performed oral on, one after the other, and thought that she had some value. She basically sold herself like, oh, but I didn't sleep with them all. Even though they all ran a train on her face, she thinks that she's got, some value because she didn't sleep with them. Women aren't going to walk around telling guys about their peppered past. It exists for many of them. This one was dumb for actually documenting it, because at some point it's going to come back to bite her in the ass. Again, like I said with point number one, men are most concerned with a woman's past, right? But the problem is there aren't any good girls today. Unless you're in an Amish village and you wife up one of these Amish girls, where the community is well known and you've known her past. If you're out in a large urban coastal type of city with many millions of people living there, you're not going to find the good girl. There are no ones. There's some good ones and there's some bad ones, but there are no ones. Again, the only difference between a good girl and a bad girl, guys, point number 3 is the bad girls have been caught. That's the only difference. The good girls have some stories covering up what it is that's going on. So just understand that when you're getting out there. A lot of guys will approach dating in the sexual marketplace going, I just want to find that one. I just want to find that good one. And that's the absolute wrong way to approach it. You need to look at women in the sexual marketplace today in the modern world, after all these waves of feminism have changed the sexual marketplace, for what it truly is. All right, the fourth and final point, which some women are not going to like me revealing this, and some guys, this is going to be a difficult pill for you to swallow. Number 4 is, you're probably not her first choice. There's this concept of the alpha widow, and let me distill it for you this way. I'm going to share the story with you. There was a guy that I was coaching at one point that was dealing with some difficulty trying to get over some one-itis with this girl that he had an unhealthy attachment to. But after I think it was about 4 or 5 weeks of dating, he wanted to be, exclusive with her. So he brought up the where do we stand talk. And I've said this many times, guys, this is for women to bring up. Men bringing up the where do we stand talk is always a bad maneuver, but let's set that aside for the time being. So he brings up the where do we stand talk. She agrees to be exclusive with him. He thinks everything's, hunky-dory, tickety-boo, but he still has some weird tingling sensation that something's wrong. His intuition's talking to him, saying, hey, Bill, you might want to check out this, or maybe investigate this a little bit further, or think about that. By the way, guys, listen to your intuition. It's a really important component of doing well in the world as a guy, because it does speak to you and it picks up on a lot of shit that a lot of us tend to ignore, or maybe just kind of brush over very quickly. So anyway, back to the story. She's in the shower one day. It's in the morning. He decides to go to her laptop and look at her emails. And he finds there an email from the week before, literally 2 days after he had the talk with her about, how they would commit to each other. And she sent this email to this guy that she was dating recently that had dumped her. And this is what an alpha widow is. They won't tell you this. They don't have a t-shirt that says, hey, by the way, I'm an alpha widow. But this is what he discovered. She sends this email to this guy pleading with him to get back together with her. They would be perfect together. They were both in their 30s, by the way. I think he was about 34, 35, and she might have been about 31 or so, a few years younger. But she was basically pleading with this guy, please, let's get back together. We would have beautiful children. I'm very successful. You bring something to the table. It would be amazing if we could be together. Please, please, please. And this crushed him. You know, this broke his heart, because this was sent out literally days of them having the talk and her committing to him on a long-term basis. So you got to understand that for the most part, a lot of guys get into long-term relationships with women, and you're not her first choice. And it's my recommendation, guys, on this fourth point, that you never, ever, 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 ever waste your time in a relationship with a woman where you're not her first choice. You're never going to get her best. She's always going to be pining for some other guy. And throughout the course of that relationship, you will go through a process of betatization through 1,000 concessions, which will ultimately render you completely unattractive to her, and she will probably end up cheating on you or leaving you at some point. So I'm going to leave it at that with those 4 points. This is an incredibly important video. Guys, I want you to learn lessons from this. I don't want you to get mad at the world. I don't want you to be like, see, Rich, this is why you just shouldn't bother with women anymore, and they're evil. No, that's just the reality of the world. Now that you've known that, now that you can see, you know, the code in the matrix for what it is, how are you going to respond to this, right? Take this lesson, share it with somebody. There's a friend of yours out there, I guarantee right now, that probably needs to see this video, that one of these 4 tips will offer some clarity for him on. So I offer you that suggestion. Number 2, subscribe to the channel. A lot of you guys watch these videos unsubscribed. Hi, I'm Rich Cooper. I talk about a lot of stuff that helps you guys become better versions of yourself. I've seen a lot, I've done a lot, I broadcast a lot. I'm here to help you with that. If there's anything that you want to connect with me on a more intimate basis, pinned in the top comment, there's a bunch of useful links, books that I recommend reading, my men's community if you want to connect with me for coaching, so on and so forth. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Leave me a comment below and smash the like button. We'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.